Test. All right, there we go. Thank you for coming on into the live and sharing your essence with me in this eternal moment of which we all share an inextricable and inexorable part. Thank you for doing your part, for coming on in each and every day, and we'll do the same without wasting a single second of your time. Bada bing, bada boom. We go into the charts of BTC. It's Christmas Eve, December 24th, Sunday, as we go sideways for the basically 3 days leading up onto Christmas. Since Thursday, we've been holding this range right up against the resistance at 43,977 on the Coinbase chart here. If you look over to the left, you can see where there's a large amount of trading volume from 2022 and beyond, 2021 as well. These resistance ranges are points of interest. We did put in a higher high and lower high here. Do we put in a lower low or higher low and then one last higher high before we close out the year? Let's go ahead and look at high block. Let's go ahead into high block capital. What is high block, you say? Well, people lock that liquidity into the charts to get burned to a crisp by the market maker for not using a stop loss. And we get to see where those crispy characters are. So let's do it now. Okay, So over the weekend, you had a few weekend traders opening up some pools here, positions. Let's go ahead and set it to max liquidity. This is why it's best to just spend time with your family over the weekends, especially on Christmas holidays, so that you don't get wick-whacked around like these guys. 23 million and 36 million and 59 million absorbed on the shorts, as well as the longs here coming back into some 42 million long characters.
Fatality.
And they will get have a naughty list for Christmas on those people for trading over leveraging on the weekend. One way to check who's getting liquidated, you can go to coinglass.com/liquidation data, and you can see where all of the latest liquidations are in the last hour. Some on ETH, some on SOL. A $500,000 character on SOL in the last hour, over leveraging on the weekend. Somebody's having a bad Christmas. And then you have in the last 4 hours SOL getting absorbed here. That means a lot of these alts taking profits. 2 million on ETH, 1 million on BTC in the last 4 hours. In the last 12 hours, SOL seems to be the big loser for liquidations, and it was a short that got popped on SOL. So we'll go and take a look at crypto bubbles and see what's going on. So you're getting a little bit of these altcoin rallies, the 12% on SOL, that one character funding that $18 million character funding the pop. And yeah, let's go ahead into high block and see what has changed on the higher time frame as we expand our vision to the higher time frame, if it has changed at all. Let's go ahead and take a look. As pools shift from the 1 minute into the 7-day, you can see there is a thick band down at 43K that coincides with the narrative that we were putting out here of coming down to that 43K golden pocket region. There's a pool down in this candle that we are looking at to come back to, and there's a thick band of liquidity here that coincides with that as well. So coming down into these longs to sweep. This is what you would call an idiot box. The consolidation is real, so if you play these boxes, unless you're a scalper and you're playing the top of the range to the bottom and you're observing it, and yeah, you don't really have time to do that, hopefully, if you're spending time with your family. And yeah, there is a 43K target down there, but ultimately, as we expand to the monthly, you can see this large amount, the double-digit pool up at 45.5 that we've been talking about getting hit up here eventually. So we're getting a rejection off of the 706. We couldn't even muster the strength to go up to it. So are we going to accelerate down into these pools? The analysis is essentially the same until we get there. It's basically unchanged. Let's go ahead and see if anything has changed on the momentum. Let's go ahead and throw on our indicators and make it short but sweet. Link in the description for more. momentummaster.info. Scrolling down to features, toggling at your leisure, all of the components, and you can also see each individual component as they come into prominence: the trend cloud, the baselines, the stochastic array, and more. Dynamic alerts to your phone. So what we were looking at here was this 6-hour cross down event. Does this cross down event bring us a little bit of a downside liquidity grab on this vector candle here to the left? Looks like it could recover the vector and come back into this liquidity. So coming back to kiss the cloud on the 6-hour, this cloud coming up in a manner, but still slightly, we have yet to come back to it, and the 3 o'clock angle is not as strong as it could be. Let's make our descent through the time frames as we do. So let's go ahead and start with the 3-day. So reminder of the 3-day closed beneath the 3-day baselines after crossing down. So even if we get a wick up into this region, this might be a nice time to position into pair a short up here, with the last shorts getting hit up in that region. If it comes up to this level and takes out all of these shorts and fades, that could be a juicy short opportunity. Why do I say that? Well, I've been going over it multiple times here. You had the last cross down event here in July. It came up one more time and boom, fade. Here you had a fake out, cross down, but it crossed back up, but it crossed back down again. And even if you held through it, through the resistance levels we hit, boom, fade. So do you get a bit of a fade here? Even if it's bullish market structure, do we fade back down into the halving, down into these nether regions at 36K? And there is a larger narrative if we switch from the monthly to the 2-year, where you can see these 24K levels. And then also if you go to the 6-month, you can see that there is that amount down at 34K. Hundreds of billions down in that region. There's also some sweeping, some 40 billion, 60 billion down in that 39.9 to sweep. Even if we come up to this 45 and take out the 51 billion, we could be coming back down into these regions at some point, leading into. And then here you go on the 3-day, that 34K band of liquidity after taking out that 45.6 and then coming back down into this would not seem unreasonable. And that is the higher time frame narrative that we don't go over every day anymore. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the lower time frames of the daily. Daily cross down was starting to get a potential of a cross up, but now starting to fade off of the baselines here, coming back into this curved angle of the trend cloud, possibly coming back to kiss that trend cloud. But looking at the 22-hour was turning bearish in terms of the trend cloud volume shifting here to selling. So are people offloading their positions to look to reaccumulate down here, because this is turning into a curved structure? Are we coming back to do one last reaccumulation burst to the top or not? Let's go ahead and take a look at the 12-hour, also shifting bearish on the cloud, looking at the money flow coming back to the RSI even Steven levels now. So the money flow has been reclaimed to the RSI. Do we start to see it come back down here? Looking at the 6-hour cross down event of this Williams, looking to suppress possibly the 6-hour takeoff cross up event here and dump down for the last time. Coming to the 4-hour, also meandering around the money flow beneath the RSI here, suggesting you could get a pop, but the overall Williams pressure could reset it some more, getting the cross down event of the 4-hour cloud that we were talking about back here. Slow and steady progression of that ensuing, with that cascade to the 6-hour cross down event here. If we look at the 12-hour has yet to cross down. So even if we come down to this region, there would have to be some interest generated at that 618 bounce. Coming to the hourly ambiguously curving here with the cloud, and we are slowly making our descent. It's attempting to hold this cloud up right here right now, but we saw some volume, some selling pressure volume right there just a minute ago, as they come down into this 42 million at 43,616, looking to liquidate that $42 million character and this $20 million character, and possibly cascade on down to these regions below. A large amount of players down in here. You have some at 43.2s. Look at all the stick band paired up here, leading to that 43K idea we were talking about. You see the stick band over to this side here starts to taper around here. This is that 43K idea, which is why we have this level marked off. But there's no real confluence other than the candle to the left there. If we go by the math, then coming and sweeping even lower, perhaps going down into this region and sweeping it entirely, 42.84, and coming down to that 42 or 48.7 region. Yeah, coming and sweeping all of that up. We'll be here for it either way. So it is a Merry Christmas. Let's go look at the broader market, see if anything has shifted since yesterday. Bitcoin dominance dropping lower, getting 6 time frames oversold on the dominance as the alts trim and have a little bit of a ball game. USDT dominance attempting to double bottom here, starting to hold this range here. Do you get a manipulation on down to this level here, a key level to the left? Where we wick down into it. This is also a daily level, I think, if we go even further back. Yeah, over here. Where is that? From that wick over there. This was from 2021. So coming to possible low levels of USDT dominance coming into that level here. There's not really much lower if you come into this level. If USDT dominance drops, it means you're putting a maximum amount into the trade. So essentially you could come to this wick where we bounced off over there. Beyond that, then you have these levels. There's a wick and double wick idea. Wick, wick. If we take this bearish trend base fib level and go like this, that would coincide quite nicely with that idea of Bitcoin going to the upside. And we're coming over to this level here. This lines up with that 706 here. All right, and the total 3. starting to reach up into that key level, that 618 deviation level, and also a daily support wick from over here. Daily support and resistance level from back here. If we look at the total, this is total 3 for all of crypto alts, and we have reached that 1 deviation of the trend-based fib level from here. This impulse retrace 236 entry model coming up to that 1 level. So this is where people would be looking to take profits. Maybe we come up to that adaptive on the 3-day. The last time we came up to that adaptive has been a while. It was back in April. We fell short then. Are we going to fall short now? There is no reason with Binance getting fined and FTX failure and all this with sentiment around the exchanges, and for alts to have a rally that continues much further unless there is some sort of official adoption and regulations in place already. So we could see a retrace coming back down, getting some nukes on some daily time frames. Even this pause here caused some sort of stoppage for a week or so. Overall, getting some fatigue across the total 3, which is the alts. Coming to the total market cap, we came above a 618 level of this impulse to the downside here. This entire impulse to the downside, this 618 is where we're at currently. Do we see a bit of a manipulation up into this region and rejection off of some levels over in here for that one last hurrah up to 45.5? Personally, I don't think we can muster the strength from this region. People are trimming and then looking to reaccumulate to burst up and then take their, maybe some bigger players taking their positions out there. Still in that same narrative of going down to go up. Dixie coming down into this possible 786 fair value gap here and coming off of that bounce idea, so coming lower on Dixie for that potential upside path. You did have a rocket lock in, giving the insinuation it wants to shift. We had some rockets back here before we manipulated out. So we could come a little bit lower before we ultimately shift up in this direction, back up, and that would also give that insinuation of the market shifting towards reaccumulation back into the dollar and risk on assets taking a tumble. If you go to the NQ, we're also topping out here. Let's just go to the NQH, I believe it is. No, NQM. I just updated without even looking at it. Which one is it? Well, either way. So the NQ also starting to top out into undiscovered price disco. So seeing a bit of a retrace going into the new fiscal year in April would make sense with the halving and then possible reaccumulation on that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the lower time frames. We already gave that for BTC, but let's go into total total currently getting this upwards path to the 2 o'clock angle coming up into this region. This is solely based on the altcoins right now, so people trimming and going into the alts. This has to do with what we were talking about the dominance. As the dominance decreases and Bitcoin is stable, then the alts increase. So this increase in the alts is due to the dominance dropping and allowing the alts to play ball while Bitcoin goes sideways. Let's go ahead and say what's up. Hey, what's up? Nay, thoughts on Polygon? Matic, been patient, sleeping giant will pump with ETH Q1. Merry Christmas. Yo, what's up? Thanks. Let's go ahead and look at Matica, Polygon. So we were looking at a bit of a retrace idea for Matic. It pumped up to the target we were looking at around 83-ish, and it went a little bit longer than that. We had a little pool that we were talking about coming back into, came back into that pool and then bouncing back up. You're starting to get a cross down event here. Overall, whoa, what's going on with that? Hitting a button. So coming back into that region, there's this impulse to the upside that's at a premium levels now above the 0.5. So coming back into a pocket region of that is the ideal entry idea, but looking also at a possibility of coming lower if we had this deep retrace idea. We have the overall discount region here. We had a previous reaction off the equilibrium over here. So we reacted off of equilibrium, came back, and now we bounced prematurely to that equilibrium bounce on Matic. If you are coming back to a pocket zone on a larger time frame, that could be the case. We were seeing when we broke this structure, when we were at this point, we were calling for a little bit of a downside path. We got it, and then we saw this imbalance up here and said we could come up to here. We came up to there, and now we're saying we're coming down into this region. So I'm just trying to reiterate myself where we are currently on Matic. We can go ahead and load Matic's liquidity, because that's most important to gauge to see where the shift could occur in the momentum. So let's go to the Matic. So knowing where we stand with the dominance and that the dominance could shift soon, you could see a retrace into some of these longs below at this point. If we turn this to max liquidity, we came up to a region, we took out all these shorts, these pools here. There's still some more up in this 86.3 region that they could come back to. So that does make sense that they could come back to that 86.3 region, but you're starting to get a little bit of fatigue on the baselines here at the 4 hour. If we come to the 6, the 6 time frames overbought, coming back down to this cloud, getting that little kiss off the cloud idea would be where you would look for it. So if Bitcoin is intending to bounce but drop first, then you would see this kind of idea coming down into this region and potentially scooping it up at this pocket region perhaps, and then coming up to reclaim this here. So as it stands right now, looking for the 4 hour to reset a little bit more on Matic here. This cross down event and the money flow above the RSI here is suggestive of fatigue in the money flow, and so this money flow could come back down to the RSI. Starting to get a cross on the leading MACD here. You could see this line crossing through the yellow line, so we could get this MACD cross. This is a leading MACD. You can get alerts to your phone on that. You just go to the 3 dots here, add, and you can choose pump or dump. It just does cross down and cross up. for that time frame. So if you want to see a 4-hour cross, it will let you know when that crosses before it starts to dump generally. All right, so yeah, looking for Matic to come a little bit lower. If you see the liquidity here, we could be coming down to sweep these 81 cent region. There is a thicker band down there if Bitcoin does come down. So coming down to that 80 cent, 81 cent, kiss the cloud on the, was that hourly? No, that was a 6-hour, I think. Yeah, the 6-hour cloud. Coming back to that 6-hour cloud potential and seeing how this 6-hour cloud reacts. We're not going to leave that there, but basically coming back and kissing the cloud as we did some similar to here. We came up and then we came down, kissed the cloud, and then went up. So coming back down and kissing the cloud again before going up to this region would make the most sense. You don't want to buy it at a premium. You want to sell into a premium level down to a discount and take it up from there. So that's what I would see for Matic. If BTC is going to go up, Matic is going to go a little bit lower to that 80 cent region before it goes higher. NFA, do your own due diligence, but as it's showing here, the USDT dominance looking to bounce up at some point too. So even if we get this burst of USDT coming into trading here, you could be getting it knocked out as we have a potential market structure shift on the higher time frames. Okay, so that is what we are looking at for everything unchanged in our analysis. It's basically, are we going down to go up to these levels? Any other last requests on, yo, what's up CNC, for the Christmas Eve stream? So yeah, coming down to that 618 would be ideal for a Merry Christmas, getting some discount rates for a last pump up. I wouldn't be surprised if it just rips though. If it rips, it's more likely to fade than sustainable. If they reaccumulate down here, then it might be worth to like see what is happening in this range, what's induced. I still think it's a good swing level for a short, but based on all the market structure and the ETF, and good news is not always good for the market news, because the last time we had, let's go show you the last time we had a good news like event where the government adopted Bitcoin as its official currency. It's such bullish news, right? They adopted it as their official currency, and they had Bitcoin Day, and everyone was buying Bitcoin, and it was reaching back in bullish structure, and everything was great and grand and happy. And it was right around here on September 7th, 2021. Okay, and then everyone was bullish, and we had this thing, and we're coming back into some resistance levels. We hit this adaptive, and if we go into lower time frames, I didn't even have my indicator back then, so that nuke was appearing after when I was back testing this for 2 years. So basically what I was seeing in the moment was some bearish divergence, so we'll go over how that was. So I was seeing the bullish news, and I remember seeing this. We didn't have the cross down because I didn't have the indicator back then, but if we looked at, where was it? It was like a daily time frame. We were making lower highs on the daily, was it? We were starting to make some bearish divergence on one of these time frames. It was going into the 15. yeah, we were starting to make some bearish divergence as we were coming up here, and we had bearish divergence lock in, and then I was looking for, I got in on the hourly shoulder. So here's some bearish divergence, and we were getting this higher high, and then I got in right on that shoulder there. And then it was downhill from there. Wait, no, this is not it. Sorry, this is September 7th. Here we go, September 7th. So here, we're making, that's the shoulder right there. So I was basically seeing that we were making some bearish divergence on the RSI here, and it was on a higher time frame as well. And we were starting to make some bearish divergence, and then that was when the news came out. And sure enough, it was like shoulder, head, and then shoulder right there. It was where I got in, and boom. So it's not without reason to stand that in bullish news it does something like this, and people are like, manipulation, what happened, why? So you never know, this could be in store. All the way down to 34K. I mean, that was a huge drop, and I remember that going, I remember this one in particular going in like 10 minutes. So this amount, 12% in like 10 minutes or something. Ridiculous. It was crazy. Yeah, there you go. 10 minutes down, 10 minutes up. It was a boing, a 12% bounce drop. And it was so crazy with all the alts and everything. So I took it down there and trimmed, and I didn't expect it to go like that. That was crazy. So, and this shows that the nukes at that time were pretty accurate. We back tested those things, fine-tuned them for these levels. So we will see. We will see again. A history lesson. So we're getting these nukes here on BTC back in that region. So as we start to reach into these structures on the dominance closed oversold 6 time frames, so getting the dominance to bounce up at some point soon would make sense with the USDT dominance coming lower, people entering trades more, looking for a reaction. This wick was reclaimed, and we're looking to go deeper in this, so possibly coming up already. This is Asia session. Asia session rarely pumps, but looks like we are getting a reaction off of this cloud here. We had a little bit of a, let's see what's going on with the liquidity here. This is Matic, sorry. Okay, so Christmas Eve, 10:10 in the morning, Asia time. Are we going up to take out these shorts? There's nothing really nearby to justify it unless we go to 44,143. Somebody entered a $28 million long just there at 43,892. So $28 million long just opened in this region. If they go test the limit order, players that put limit orders up here, if we break out, they try to ride it up. They could trap some longs and then go lower if there's enough interest generated. Either way, it's Christmas Eve. They are just wick-whacking players left and right who enter. Sparse liquidity easily seen on the books. So overall, just staying steadfast in the analysis here, that coming to the lower point here and watching a kiss to 2.7% away to this region makes the most sense to me at this time, and coming and sweeping that long liquidity down below, and then hitting the higher time frame for that 45k hoorah, last hoorah to the upside. So any last requests while you have me? Let's see. LTC BTC Mellowell, what's up Mellowell, long time no see. LTC BTC, I forgot completely about that. The Bitcoin pairing, people getting in the alts to pair the bounce twofold. So the LTC BTC looking poised to go up here. You have a nice little potential of a SR flip here, coming back and trying to confirm this as support. You have this level so we swept an entire, just trying to get it. Okay, wait a minute, let's go back here. What on earth is this wick? Either way, the wick is something to think about. That was from December 2017. That's some time ago. Quite a while ago. But we have come back down into that to a fair degree. And on the weekly time frame, the cloud is kind of thinning here. You're 31% away from potentially reaching out of this bearish structure on the weekly. Going to the 3-day. 3-day is been just seen better days, but it looks like it's basically just continuing on lower. This cloud has yet to abate. 17% away on the 3-day, still thick on the 3-day. Daily time frame, you can see this curvature a little bit better starting to unfold perhaps, but it's been misleading before. Even when we bounce up, we reject off that cloud on the daily. So even if we get a little bit of a bounce, you got a cross up event. If you bounce up to that level, you can look for that 7.4% rejection off the super trend level here. You are getting a cross up of the daily time frame. And if you go to the lower time frames, you can see how this 12-hour is cascading nicely, and you're getting a thinning of the baseline for the first time in a long while. So we had a thinning over here, and then we bounced up a good 5% from that point, ultimately just selling off and bearishly retesting and coming lower. So it's a bearish structure that it needs to negate a huge pressure for this to, but if you're just playing this for the small bounces you can get, this thinning cloud has more of a potential here to bounce up to that point. At least got rejected the last time it hit the super trend, 3.4% away, so you might not be able to muster the entire move. And this, the funny thing is the super trend, if you're a smart money concept person, right? And believe me, I've been studying all that stuff for years. I just don't idolize people that teach it. So this will most likely line up with your breakers. The super trend lines up with these concepts, so you don't even need to tax your mind at all. You can just use price action to determine where these points of interest will lie. And that's why I rely on indicators to do the work for me. And it's not being lazy. It's why would you, if you can create a tool that, like a calculator that does the math, why would you bother doing the math in your head, you know? So this most likely could be a resistance region too. But overall, you came up to the bearish super trend here on the 6 hour, you broke it, and now you're kind of consolidating here. You got the super trend and the baselines on your side on the 6 hour. Coming to the 4 hour, coming back above that 4 hour cloud. And you got this cross up event. And so you see how this is fractal in nature. I didn't need to change anything. I just see the same thing over and over again. So coming, yeah, back to this, you got your shoulder, head, and your shoulder, possibly coming out of this for a little bit of a bounce up into that level. We determined that this level was a super trend on another time frame, 6 hour, I believe, and this is the super trend on the 12 hour, but it's also these fair value gaps. Like if you just go over here, what do you know? That super trend is going to be that fair value gap. So it's like you could use that too. It's a BPR fair value gap, so it's not going to show up. But yeah, this looks very nice as a pairing. We could take it up potentially. Right now we're getting a rejection off of that. We had a nice little rocket ship pairing as well down here on Thursday. Boom, we had a nice little cloud bounce entry model for that. Came back to equilibrium. Boom. All right, so you essentially broke the market structure shift, broke the super trend on that 4 hour or whatever, and then now you're doing like a shallow retrace into the 382. If it's in bullish territory and it just decides to rip from here, you're in a shallow zone to do that. It would be cooler if you positioned down in here and you're just asking because you're monitoring your trade, in which case you have nothing really to retrace back into on this hourly time frame, only up in here. So that super trend, what do you know? The super trend yet again holds that fair value gap region pretty accurately. So coming back to that, there's different levels on different time frames to look out for. If you break this negative 8%, 0.8% away, you could be coming up to here and there. But yeah, the rocket ship insinuates this is a good buy for the pairing bounce idea, LTC, BTC. But overall, you have to negate a lot of bearish tonality. But that's how we would analyze that. That's how it would have been analyzed. Hopefully that was helpful. Booyah. Nice, quick swap. Quick swap. What is the thing for quick swap? Do I just type in quick swap or what? Quick swap. It's on KuCoin. Whoa. Looks like whatever happened here happened already. Whatever pump and dump. What the? Let me clear this out. I don't know what I did when was I looking at that. So this has been around since 2021, and we had this massive pump up and the ridiculous pump up at that. Holy moly. What is the volume on this? What is 525? Why does it say 525? 525 what? $525. I don't understand why it says 525. What does that mean? It should say 1,000 if it's 1,000 or million if it's million, but if it's just saying 525, I hope that doesn't just mean dollars. Yeah, so this, I mean, the low volume assets using Momentum Master with it is kind of like ridiculous, because it just it exaggerates the cloud based on the previous volume and stuff. So while the cross down events of the baselines do play out, it's just it's generally a mess to use with low liquidity stuff, which is why I generally trade NQ and Bitcoin, because it gets more accurate, more volume. So if you're asking for an analysis using the tools that I use, it's kind of hard to analyze low liquidity stuff. But that looks like a nice pump if somebody got in on that. That was a ridiculous amount of gains. Whether you could get out is the question. If the order book's very scant, you might not even have got your sell order filled up here, depending on how much liquidity. I've had that happen before, where you cannot fill an order because there's just no one willing to buy it up there. So it looks nice on paper, but who was actually profitable? You know what I mean? Hopefully you got some profit if that's something you're proud of. That's cool. That's cool. All right, so we're getting a little bit of a bounce off this hourly cloud reclamation here. You never know where it's going to occur. That's why we're not interested in shorting this idiot box. Like, we're looking for a potential fade up in this region and a potential long in this region. So this little trappage that's occurring is just going to grab liquidity and induce people in, like this $28 million character. So they might give them a little bit of profit and take it up to here to take out these guys, but then they might come promptly back to this guy's thing on Christmas Eve. So unchanged in my tonality for seeing this potentially drop. You are getting a cloud shift here on the 1 hour. Does this 1 hour take you higher? How high does this play out? You're getting a lot of ambiguity on the hourly, but if we shift to the higher time frame, we do see that while you are pointing to 2 o'clock, which is ultra bullish, is this cross down event on the 4 and then the 6 hour event as well. Do we maintain these 6 hour baseline cross down levels at 44K even? So do we get rejected at 44K and come on down to this cloud on the 6 hour or not? That is the question on Christmas Eve, December 24th. Please enjoy the holiday with your family. Get those stocking stuffers. I got to do that right now, actually. So I will bid you adieu. Thank you for coming on into the live and sharing your essence with me in this eternal moment of which we all share an inextricable and inexorable part. Thank you for doing your part, for coming on in each and every day, and we'll do the same, bringing the fire, the accuracy, the precision, all that fun stuff, and we'll catch you on the flip side for Christmas